This episode of PDX Spotlight is brought to you in association with Portland Radio Project.
Hi, we're Shannon Entropy, and this is PDX Spotlight.
Welcome to PDX Spotlight. We are joined this evening on a beautiful summer evening by Shannon Entropy. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. I want to go around and talk about how the band was formed before we get into talking about the new record. So how did you guys meet each other, and how did the sound kind of form during that time?
Most of us met each other in high school. Jesse and Roman, I think, was like second grade or something you guys met? Fifth grade. So they've known each other for a long time. Jesse and Libby are married, so they knew each other in high school, I think is probably when you guys met. I met Jesse first, I think, in high school, and then Libby So we've known each other for a long time, and then we met David on the internet. Found him online.
Well, great relationship start.
Yeah.
David, what was your impression of what they were doing when they approached you or when you auditioned for them?
Oh man, I thought they were rad. I thought they were super free, and they're also amazingly wonderful people to hang out with. And we're all really good friends, so that's awesome. I think they're super talented, and they don't even realize how talented they are. I mean, they're super, creative, and they're just not constrained by any type of preconceptions about what it should sound like or what a song is or something like that. They're not like, okay, we're writing a song, and it's got to have this verse, and there's a chorus, and then there's a bridge. No, it's just like starts with this riff, like rock and roll. It's so awesome, and I'm just like, yes, I want to be part of this. Yes. And I remember, so I went down and auditioned for them, and they were like, okay, and I was like, that didn't go well. And then I left my jacket and I went back and got it, and I didn't hear anything for like 2 weeks. And I emailed them, I was like, dude, man, we're gonna jam again. What's up with that? And then they're like, all right, fine.
Some of the stuff you post online for your solo stuff that you write is because it's stripped down, perhaps, but it's more singer-songwriter driven. I think. Were you into heavier stuff before? Or is this the heaviest that you've sounded as an artist?
Oh, definitely the heaviest. I think most of the stuff I did was like very, thin and just sort of me, Like, yeah. I mean, I think we were talking about this before, but Jesse was saying like it's just hard to sound like anything but yourself when you're doing it by yourself. When you get all those people, then all of a sudden you just like, oh man, I would never thought of that. That's what it's all about.
All right, I want to talk to you guys about the debut LP, Out There Ideas. It is finally here. You released it this summer. How does it feel, first off, to have it out there to the public? And the press is phenomenal. The reviews are coming in.
It's been
really good to
ridiculously more than we expected.
Awesome.
Honestly,
Vindicating.
Yeah.
It's a record that's been 3 years in the making. So getting it out there, I mean, honestly, for me a little, bit like we were working so hard and continuing to work so hard that it's like the day kind of passed and it was like, oh wait, like a week later, oh we have a record out. Wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
But it felt really good.
And it was a total pain the last few weeks as we were leading up to it. Kevin was just
not
upset.
for any of us.
It was just Kevin.
I mean, he was doing stuff with the internet. I guess there's some sort of like
There was waiting periods.
Make this all happen.
Talking on the Facebook.
Yes.
Your social media presence
Oh,
was
CB.
killer. Like your marketing leading up to everything was fantastic.
That's
It
Kevin.
was all
That's
Kevin.
Kevin.
All Kevin.
Tell your friends.
So you
Don't tell your friends. I don't have time for that.
earlier in the night we were talking about the Ballad of Must and Jark, and you did the strings at the Hollowed Halls. Is that right? For that one, or
No, the strings we actually did at Room 13. We did actually everything at Room 13 recordings except for the drums. The drums were the only thing we did at the Hollowed Halls.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
How was
With
that
the
for
big-
you?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the the reverb on the drums is all natural from that huge room they have. There's hardly anything added after the fact, I think, but it was awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other studio. It was called Room.
Room 13 Recordings, or Recording Services, I think. It's basically our producer, Jordan Richter. It's his home studio. It's in the basement of his church that his wife is pastor, the lead of, basically. And so he's got like 3 or 4 basement rooms that he rents out from them, basically, and just has a full recording studio down there with all this really nice gear. And, I mean, Jordan, Jesse and Libby can attest, is kind of like a guitar genius. And so he's got guitar gear up the wazoo.
So many.
I used so many guitars.
I was going to ask, how was that creatively for you to have that many
It was
options?
amazing.
It was like I never experienced anything like that. Like when usually when I play that many guitars, I'm like at a guitar store and But I was so happy that I was able to try a bunch of different tones out for this album. It really made a difference.
Yeah, there's something like 6 amps and 15 guitars on the record. I mean, we went.
Yeah,
we went all
We went
out.
through like a ton of pedals just for bass tones, guitar tones, a couple of different basses, and guitars and amps. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was
I think we
beautiful.
probably went a little overboard too, because Jordan even told us, like, towards the end of it when he was getting ready to mix, he straight up said, like, I think we kind of undersold it a little bit, because he came in here thinking it would be a pretty simple, like, 10, 15 tracks, ended up being like 30 tracks. And like
60, 70 tracks for
60,
Mustang.
70 tracks, I guess.
Oh, for yeah.
All
yeah.
sorts of
It was
different, I
huge.
mean, different voices, different overdubs that he just was not expecting, so.
But he was
Might
into
have
it too. He was
little
lost
bit.
with it too, man. Because we
Yeah.
were recording some of that stuff. He's just like, what happens if I like
put your voice through a guitar amp in the vocal booth with you, and then run it through some crazy effects, and then put it back through a speaker and the same booth, and it feeds back, and then you go, whoa! Let's try that, Jordan.
Yeah, totally.
What does that tell you as an artist when you have a producer or even an engineer getting that engaged with your original music? How does that feel?
I mean, it
Feels
just,
good.
Yeah, it just kind of washes the pressure away because
Yeah.
like you go in there not knowing him very well. Obviously, we met him like once before, if that. Didn't know anything about him or anything, so we're like, okay, we gotta make sure we're performing really well. Make sure, we get a good reading or a barometer of how he's receiving the music, if he's getting what we're trying to put down, basically. And,
Sure.
After the first weekend of recording drums, I mean, it was pretty clear that he got what we were trying to do, and he was very into it, and he was very vocally excited to continue going and keep doing everything else, continue on with us. So that it felt real good, and I'd say it washed away any pressure and made it really easy.
And
to
it
go
clearly
on.
worked.
Yeah.
It clearly worked. And you wanted to give him a shout out. You said he almost died a few times during the making of the record.
No, I mean, we recorded in winter, and so there's just people get sick, and he got sick a few times actually, like while we were recording and while we were mixing. And so we had a joke like, "Is Jordan dying? Do we just not know something? Should we ask him about it?" But
I
it
get
was
sick in
fine.
every show too now. I don't know what's that about.
Yeah,
Like,
he gave it to David now.
Yeah,
it's just
I know.
like this
Every show
perpetual
I'm like, I got a
buzz.
cold now.
Carried on with the record. let's talk about a challenge that was submitted during the making of the record. Kevin, let's talk about that. You told me the story once. I think it'd be kind of cool to share with everybody.
Yeah, so I'm big on like emotional music and, you know, music that makes me feel something. And, you know, it kind of started from my days back in Yakima when I was into metal music. And, you know, there's a lot of feeling in that music a lot of times, a lot of emotion and anger half the time. But so that's always been important to me. And we had started writing this song, and I had always had it in the back of my mind that I want a song with kind of like a big outro bridge type part. And we had like an intro that we played for a while that kind of had that, but it wasn't quite what I was aiming for. And we wrote this song, The Ballad of Must and Jark. We started writing it, and we had this bridge part that, you know, we kind of kept rewriting it, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it eventually kind of hit that point where it's like, this is kind of a part that, like, when we record it, it needs to make me cry. Like, it needs to be that a big emotional thing that, like, you know, strings and all the production you could think of. So it's just big and emotional, and it's just, you know, just makes you feel something inside. And I'd say we achieved it.
Especially as a performing artist, that's so hard to do. Yeah. You know, did you write the inception of the song, or is this something you guys brought in?
Well, to set the record straight, something like the other day, I think one of the Mercury or something said like, "Oh, David Ickey's string arrangements, like they were mine." Actually, you know, Jesse wrote the string part for Mustang.
Oh wow!
Yeah, set the record straight. That's the part that made us all cry. So,
Yeah.
So you bring in these melodic ideas, and then Kevin issues this challenge to make me cry. Like, how tough is that? Because you're sitting there with these sessions, like having pressure, and you're hearing it, you know, ear fatigue on the song. How do you get it to that point to where it causes some catharsis and Kevin?
Slowly and carefully, I guess. So setting the record straight again. So Libby and I wrote that song on guitars first. That's one of those jams. And the melody, I did write the string parts, but they're a play on Libby's lead guitar part that goes with the string parts that she wrote. So she started the tear-jerking melody sequence.
Yeah.
I actually just wrote the chords and things behind it.
So you did the arrangement.
And then I just like wrote out the string parts. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, sometimes when we write a song initially, say like Kevin will see, or he'll get a hint at something that we don't really see. We're like, this is just like a cool big rock out part, and he's like, this is like a cry part. And then we can sort of like, oh, maybe it is a cry part, so let's like make it cryier.
Sure.
When we were going in to record, we definitely thought like it needs something more. It needs something. We argued over a few different things, and trumpets and strings and
Trumpets,
chorus, everything. Yeah.
Choral singers.
Yeah.
And
Just settled on strings.
we settled on strings.
I think the bagpipes would have been a great touch. I'm just.
Seems to turn out right for you. So hypothetical, I never think it's gonna come true for you, love. True for you, love. Seems like everything I
one of the other songs I want you to talk about is based on a band tradition. Let's talk about the camping song.
Yeah.
So that is mostly all David.
That was one of the original songs he brought to us,
He
actually, when
had
he joined the
that.
band.
So I was looking through his SoundCloud because he also wrote Eyes of Blue, which is on our EP. And I was thinking, okay, he has some good stuff. I know he has more good stuff. So I was looking through his SoundCloud, and then I came across I Can See, and I was just blown away. Like, we have to recreate this, or we have to record this or play it with the band. And yeah, that's what basically initiated it.
It's about camping.
Yeah.
Started as like a hip hop jam kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the drums are very hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
That's funny.
It was
Synths
weird
and
because
drum machine.
Yeah.
it was a lot different than Eyes of Blue. Eyes of Blue was kind of a little poppy, surfy kind of, and then you get I Can See, and it was just kind of mellow but still kind of pop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a theme of there's tangible emotion in your music. You know what I mean? Like it's always there, and whether you guys save it for the end of the song, to hit you in a certain way, or whether it's especially on the Tamale EP, like Eyes of Blue, you just brought it up. Immediately, I was like, okay, this is definitely ready for radio. This is a listenable track. But every time I listened to that, there was more and more layers to it, and so I was so excited to hear what you guys are doing with this the latest record here. What are your game plans now? Obviously, touring and promotion still happens, but there's a big push right before the record comes out. So where do you settle as a band, marketing the record now and keeping that momentum going?
Social media is big. I mean, pushing it everywhere and anywhere we can get it. Nowadays the big thing is streaming. So just trying to get people, hey, go listen to the album, but also add it to your playlists, or try to listen to it a bunch, show it to friends, get them to add it to their playlists. We want to try to get it recognized by Spotify or Apple Music, to get it on some of their curated playlists, because that's a big way to just get it out there. And that's one thing that they're generally pretty good about, is they have their dedicated playlists for up and coming artists. So trying to get noticed there is a big focus. I think we're hoping to start pitching to labels, maybe for a new EP or something, or just want to start self-producing some singles, I'd say. Our little practice studio, and trying to get those out, just to keep content flowing.
Sure.
We've got a lyric video that's all done and ready to go. We're going to probably release soon, and then a few other things. I think we'll probably do some promotions, like free albums, or who knows.
So I'll ask all of you, where, or rather what, does the Portland music scene mean to Shannon Entropy?
There's a lot of great music happening right now in Portland, and there's just a lot of music happening right now in Portland in general, and it's like tough to get noticed. There's good shows every weekend. There's good shows every day of the week. There's like probably 2 shows worth going to on any given day. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to sort of be the coolest band in town or something. But at the same time, when you have that many creatives and you have that many awesome people to collaborate with, and to give you notes and to share songs with, and to play shows with, that's a lot more fun, and you stay inspired. We started in a small town. We were like the only indie band. There was like a few metal bands and like some polka and stuff, and so we were like we were the coolest indie band in town. We're the only one. But then you just sort of lose steam, because there's nobody to play with. None of the other bands want to play with you. So yeah, it's definitely the both of those things. It's super awesome because I love all the awesome music that's being made by my many great friends. But at the same time, it's tough to stand out.
It's changing right now. It really is. I've lived here 17 years, and it's a very different place than it was when I first moved here. It's like, Portland was that big small town, and it had that thing, and it was like San Francisco and Seattle, and everything was just crazy expensive, and we just talked about it like them, and now we are them, and it's really hard. I think a lot of artists and people that are trying to make a living can't. It's like, it sucks, and everyone feels it. And every blog post I read about musicians and bands that I wish we had the exposure that they have are like, yeah, screw it. You know, we're not. You can't pay the rent. You know, they have record deals and touring and whatever, and it's still just like, you know, it's hard in a lot of ways, but it's also wonderful, like Jesse was saying, to have all this creativity.
It is kind of, you know, difficult for us as a band to, you know, kind of fit in with some of the other bands, because, you know, you got all these bands that, like, when we started playing, it was a lot of punk rock and metal kind of bands, and kind of turned into, you know, kind of like surf rocky kind of stuff. And we don't really, like, I mean, our music isn't set to one genre. We kind of, you know, bounce around.
By intention.
Yeah, in the best of ways, for sure.
And so like we'll find a lot of bands that we like to play with, but our music doesn't exactly sound like their music, and so it's weird. But then again, you find a lot of cool bands that also don't really fit in, and, you know, especially nowadays, and it's kind of like, hey, let's play a show.
Where can your fans reach you and find you online?
Everywhere. We've got Facebook /Shannon Entropy Band. We've got Instagram, which is just Shannon Entropy. Twitter, which is Shannon X Entropy. We've got a website, shannonentropy.com. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal. You can Shazam us, which is pretty cool.
Bandcamp.
What was that one that no one ever heard of? It was like Dezingle?
Deezer. We're on Deezer.
Thing. We're on.
You're a fan.
It's easy to find
everything, honestly. Yeah,
We're
you
probably
can find
on
us
Napster.
anywhere.
I don't know.
Just search for Shannon Entropy Band, because you search for Shannon Entropy, you're going to get a bunch of information theory terms and things that you don't care about.
You'll find out what we're named after.
Yeah, you'll find out what we're named after. You can go down that road. But
Claude Shannon. Just
Some
throwing that out there.
deep
Claude
band
Shannon.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, can't thank you enough for being on the program and hosting us tonight. So thanks again for being on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shannon Entropy.
She found me in the water, locked me in the car made of golden glass, spun me up in size. Another world I found that all others revise. The kiss she gave to me before we died.